Hey, hello, how are you? Welcome everyone to another session of this Global Dev Week. I'm so glad to be here in this second edition. As you know, Global Dev Week is an initiative by Encora, and it is a collaboration with the 17 offices and the 31 innovation labs that Encora has around the world. So for me, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Alexis Flores, part of the community building team in Mexico City. And today, I'm so glad to introduce this session because I'm so excited to share with you that the following speakers are part of the new or are one of the most recent members of the Encora's family. So here with me is Tim Clark and also Richard Nolan, part now of Encora. Tim is a leader in low-code software, product management, development, and operations with over 20 years of experience. 20 years of experience, Tim. Really, really impressive, delivering transformational technology solutions for mid-market and Fortune 1000 enterprises. By his part, Richard is Encora Senior Appian Architect. He has over 30 years of IT experience as a developer, system administrator, and enterprise architect. For the last 16 years, he has been designing and building applications that solve complex business problems in a variety of technology spaces. Guys, I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm sure that you will share with us very important and relevant content for the audience. Just let me before to give the floor to you or to pass the floor to you, make a quick reminder, please, to the audience. Don't forget to follow us on the social media appearing right now on the screen. We will be so glad to know about you. For example, where are you watching this streaming right now? And also to make a quick reminder that you can use the chat to interact with this session. Um, Tim and Richard will be part of the audience during the presentation. So I'm sure that they will be very interested to know your comments and questions. That's it by my side. Tim and Richard, I pass the floor to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis, for that wonderful introduction. It's so good to be here. This is our first, obviously, Dev Week, being new to Encora, but it's super exciting to be here. We only have 30 minutes, so we are going to laser focus on a couple of components of the platform. And we really want to talk about the real world value of the platform, what our customers actually see and what we see with our customers. So we'll start real quick with the promise that the platform offers, and we'll go really quick through that, and then we'll turn it over to Richard, and we'll build a demo while we talk about those real world values and benefits that our customers see with the platform. So a bit on the promise. This is some information that came out of a Forrester Total Economic Impact study. And just real quick, 10 times faster application development. So imagine whatever project you have on your plate right now getting done in 10% of the time, a couple of weeks instead of a year. Under a 6-month payback on your initial investment, and fantastic ROI of 350% return on investment that most customers see. Very compelling numbers. We'll talk about how we get there and how we actually achieve these capabilities. Similarly, the platform offers total deployment flexibility. You can deploy in self-managed environments, either inside your firewall or on a cloud, or you can leverage Appian's highly scalable, highly secure cloud platform. And the cloud offering runs on a global network of data centers, and it has unmatched return to operations, recovery point objectives, as well as the most comprehensive set of security certifications in the industry. From a platform capabilities perspective, there are two that we really want to talk about. The first is Data Fabric. And Data Fabric is probably the most powerful feature of the platform, at least I think it is. Using it, we can discover enterprise data across databases and systems. It doesn't matter where your data resides. We can get to it, we can access it, we can interact with it. There's no need for a migration. We can just get to your data. Once we have access to that data, we can unify it by relating and integrating multiple disparate tables and systems into one easily managed data fabric. So it doesn't matter if your orders table is out there in SAP and your customers table is an Access database and you've got some other stuff in SQL Server or Oracle. It doesn't matter. We can put it all together in a unified fashion with Data Fabric, and it will all be interrelated to each other so the applications will understand how the data relates to each other. And then the really powerful feature of this is data security on top of that. Once we know where all the data is, once we have it all related the way it should be, we can secure the data at the row level. And it doesn't matter if the data is residing inside the database on your Appian server, inside your firewall, in SAP, in PeopleSoft, in Oracle. It doesn't matter. We secure data at the row level. So for example, if you only want your UK team to see UK orders, we configure that at the data level, data fabric level. And then no matter what anybody builds on top of that, if you've got a UK user logged into the system, they can see the UK orders. If you have a US user logged into the system, they can't, and they will never be able to. Perfectly secure from the data fabric perspective. And finally, data fabric will automatically optimize itself as you build applications around it based on user activity. So as it sees specific queries being run over and over again, it may create indices for you and so forth. The next interesting and powerful feature that we want to talk about is process automation. Using process automation, we can orchestrate end-to-end workflows that combine humans and automation. We can enforce policy compliance using business rules, and we drive efficiency into our processes by automating what's happening behind the scenes by integrating with artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, API integrations, most of those no code, right out of the box with the platform. And finally, we can automatically process content using intelligent document processing. IDP uses artificial intelligence to automatically recognize documents and lift data from them. And when it's not certain enough about the result, it will enlist the help of human users, and their input comes back around into the AI to continuously train it and improve it. Now, process automation, data fabric, and a lot of other tools in the platform drive the value that we talked about earlier, which is getting into production 10 times faster, paying back your initial investment in under 6 months, and realizing a 350% ROI. So this is the promise. Let's actually see the platform in action. Richard will develop an application for us in about 20 minutes while I distract him with questions about his experiences with clients. This will be a lot of fun. It's all yours.
Thanks, Tim. I'm going to quickly share my screen and confirm that everyone can see that. What you should be looking at this point, Tim, thumbs up?
Yes.
Is the Appian development environment. This is how we build applications for our customers and internally. And the desired state here for today's demonstration is we're going to pretend or set up a use case where we've moved into a customer environment. They're going to want us to build perhaps an enterprise application for us. But as a quick win, we want to capture some of the technical debt that they have from their legacy applications just based on the data that they have in their database. So I've selected a simple view of some tables that I think are ripe to create an application that will allow us to create new entries in these tables, modify the existing entries, or even delete entries from the table. Really basic application, and I'll talk through the features as I work through them. So in this case, I'm looking at an Appian database connection. This is the native database that comes with Appian. Wouldn't matter what the nature of the database was. As Tim pointed out, we're completely database agnostic. This even could be a result set from an API call off the internet. Doesn't really matter from Appian's perspective. We're going to build some records from it in the data fabric, and then we're going to build an application on top of it. So what I have selected here is the facilities tables for the organization. They have plants around the world. Obviously, it's a very simplified data set, but it wouldn't really matter if there were 50 or 60 columns of data in this table, and there were a similar number of columns in the regional table. We're going to make it very easy to synthesize these two together and build an application on top of them. Within the Appian Designer itself, there are about 22 native objects that come in the system. We're only going to use a few of them today, but it really speaks to the rich suite of possibilities that are available to you as a developer. And it's also important to note that while we talk about low code and we talk about the speed of development that the no code and low code features offer to us, the reality is that Appian is built on a very mature business process orchestration platform that was designed to bring complex enterprise applications, people, and data together. And so we're going to leverage some of those tools a little bit at the end of the demonstration. So for the beginning of the process, I'm going to actually look at the reference table. You will have seen it mentioned here, and this is the regions in which our plants and facilities are located. And I'm going to just build a record based on that to start with. I'm going to issue descriptions for now. They're really particularly useful as a developer tool to give other developers an indication. Not terribly onerous in terms of time, but I'll be quick and we'll just ignore descriptions for our purposes today. Everything that Tim talked about in record security begins with object security. Because I'm referencing an object that we're going to create, I can restrict the users who have viewer access or administrator access to it. And Appian will ask me that every time I create a new object. So Appian gives you a wizard through building most of the objects, and I'm just going to follow the wizard for simplicity's sake. But it's important to remember at every point when there is a wizard component, there's also an opportunity to take over and do manual work. So if there's a feature that you feel is constricting you to solve a business problem, there's usually a deeper path to follow. But for our purposes today, you're going to see the power of the simple tools. So I'm going to tell it that I want to start with a database. I do want to sync the records, and I'll explain what that means as I build them. And in this case, I'm going to search for some tables. I'm going to take the plant region table to begin with. So it immediately has gone out, read the table, and shown me a preview of the data. I agree that that's the table that I'm looking for. It is eligible for sync. It's very rare to encounter an object that isn't, but Appian does have a ceiling right now of 4 million rows, although by the end of 2023, we know that they're going to be at 10 million rows for sync. So it's getting larger and larger every year. I could change naming conventions and data types here, but I see no reason to, so we'll follow the stock features. And now I have created a record of that particular table. I'm going to quickly switch to sync options, and I'm going to schedule a full sync. So at 3 a.m. every day, the system is going to go to that table and reload all of that data into Appian's in-memory database, which is a really core component of Appian's data fabric. Brings all that data together into a database that's extremely rapid to access. So I'm content with my plant region object, and it has gone and it has pulled all of its records into memory and let me know. Now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to actually build my facilities tables. I'm going to follow the same rule, but I'm going to do a few additional things along the way. Where we've used this in our customer environments is initially we tend to use this as a rapid prototyping tool to help us flesh out what their expectations are with respect to data and to give us a good understanding of their data model. Remember, as a developer, as you're building all these, you're growing familiarity with the underlying data structures that you're going to be using. It also gives us a launching point to help shape the customer's expectations and have the customer shape what they desire from the application. So again, I'm going to go and look for that plant table. And in this location, it's gone and found it. We can see this region ID, which we know is a foreign key reference on our plant region table. It's good to be aware of it, and you'll see why. So again, I'm going to take all the defaults from Appian, but I'm going to add a relationship to this table. So this is where I begin the work of the data fabric. In the second slide that Tim showed, there was quite a complex fabric map, but in this case, we're going to keep it very simple. And I'm going to ask it to make a connection to my plant region record that I just created. In this case, I know that every region may have many plants in it. So we're going to have a many to one. I'm going to choose that region ID foreign key that we saw, and I'm going to map that to the region ID in my plant region table. They add those records. So Appian represents that relationship to us. And now I have a foundational component in the data fabric that allows me to very quickly build features on top of it. One of the first features that I'd like to build is a view of my records. So if I was to select a single record from the database, I want to just have a simple view. Oh, I have to save my changes. I want to have just a simple view of my data so that I can actually access there we go, full sync succeeded, so that I can access a single record and view what it looks like. And I'm going to let Appian do this for me automatically. I will always have the opportunity to go back and tailor that data later. And in this case, I'm going to select a record view that allows me to consume all of the data from all of my data fabric. So a one-stop shop. I'm accepting the defaults, and I'm going to let it generate my view. I'll quickly jump into that just so that you can see what a summary of the Appian's interface editor looks like and what my view looks like. This is an opportunity for me to override some of the standard features, tailor the view for some quick changes that we think might appeal to our customer or might be useful in an application. And I'm satisfied with what I've got, so I'm actually not going to make any changes. And I'm going to go back to my plant record, and now I'm going to generate actions. Actions in Appian are processes typically that make users, give an opportunity for users to interact with the data, transforming it, saving it back to the database tables that it has records about, or updating web APIs across the internet. Again, this is really part of the rich features of the data fabric. And I'm going to generate the record actions. Now, in this case, I have options. I can choose to have a record action to create a new record in my plant table, a record action to update, and a record action to delete entries in my plant tables. However, maybe I only wanted to create. So the options are here to turn off these features as I don't desire them. But for the sake of our example today, we want to really show you the full rich feature set. So we're going to hit all three, and we're going to generate those. You can see the timeline running across the top, but this is actually generating Appian's internal application code and building process maps associated with each of these actions. It's going to be important to us when we finish to take a look at what we can do with those process maps. But the last thing that I'm going to do with records is a feature that will allow me to go into this summary view and specify which actions are available directly on that summary view. Not meaningful yet, but you'll see the fireworks at the end when I finish. Now, the last step I have to take to complete the build of this application so that its functionality is available to my end users is to create a location for this application to be exposed to them. In Appian, that's called a site. In this case, we'll create a site that refers to plant maintenance. I'm going to add a new page to my site of type record list and simply specify the record type that we've been using, which is the plant. I'm going to save those changes. And in roughly 10 minutes, we've completed the baseline application to support our users with a simple maintenance utility for plants in the system. The way that they will access that is through the navigation pane. And at the bottom, there's our plant maintenance utilities toolset. It also is URL specific, so you can share that link with a variety of people. And it shows us all of the plants in the system. The default paging is for 50. You can increase the paging size in the record utility itself, but we'll leave it at 50 for now. And I want to show off a couple of features that come base out of the package. one of the first things that it's done is it's recognized that our plants and regions, because it's a relationship with them, we probably want to be able to filter by them. So it's automatically created a filter for us so that we can search for particular regions and filter out the data. Additionally, it's created a simple text search that allows us to search for any text, any number in any of the columns so we can quickly filter our records down. And it has also built, right from that main record list, the ability to create a new entry. So I can create a new plant that is active, and I'm going to retire to owning a plant in our customer's location. And it's going to be on Barrett Road and this is a beautiful feature. It's a built-in picker that searches for those reference fields in the regions. So if I create that, I clear my search criteria, and now I search for Stuttgart, you're going to see that there is a plant already created for Honor guitar. And if I click on that link, I'm going to be taken to the summary record that you saw me build that interface for. Again, I chose to allow the system to leave it intact, and I didn't make any alterations to it, but it quickly generated that data for me. Furthermore, now that I'm in the summary record, there are related actions associated with that summary. So if I wished to update the information or delete the information for that record, I could do so. Now, where has this helped our customers? Initially, it was a great way to prototype parts of the application so that we could quickly put things together and get that demonstration in front of the actual business users to understand if we were on the right track, how we needed to shape our development paths. This enabled us to do very, very good and solid sprint plans for each of our sprints. We knew exactly what we were going to tailor. And because we typically do 2 demonstrations a week during those sprints, we got a great opportunity to shift and focus, add items into our backlog as we were working through an active sprint, and really quickly build an application that was feature rich, but more critically met all of our customers' desires. So that was one feature that I thought was particularly useful when we use these types of data fabric-based application developments. But an interesting thing happened along the way with some of our more recent customers. Because the tool is fairly intuitive, and because they're fairly frequently looking over our shoulder, one of the things that they were fascinated by was Appian's process modeler. Now, one of our customers was using a tool called BlueWorks from IBM that was designed to allow them to map out their business processes in flight for the developers to look over their shoulders, see this much more interactive tool set than simply a Visio flowchart. And when they looked at our process maps, they saw this parallel between what they were doing in BlueWorks and what they were doing in our process maps. So we decided to say, well, why don't you just build the base process models in the Appian process modeler? I'll give you a for instance. So we'll look at our delete plant process, which essentially just presents a user with a user interface, gives them an opportunity to reject what they've just done and cancel out, or to select a particular plant and delete it from the system. But they would say things, well, what if you wanted to have governance in there? Like, how would you manage it if you wanted to have a data administrator, a data security person authorize that deletion? So we said it's fairly simple. What you would do potentially is add a swim lane for guidance. Add a user input task for that person. And once the person has selected to delete the data, we simply route a task to that person. Now, they just watched what I was doing, saw how intuitive it was to lay out the process maps, and they elevated our development speed by taking over those basic process maps in Appian. These are not developers. These are business analysts and some of our end user SMEs who were helping shape our application development. So I'm not going to save this model into the system, but you're getting an idea for how rapidly you can put together applications in Appian. And I think I have just hit my 15-minute mark. Tim, have you got any questions about that?
So you actually answered both of the questions I was going to ask as we were going along, but I do have another one for you, and this one might be a little bit loaded. I remember a while ago at an account, we had a data model that was extraordinarily complicated, probably a lot more complicated than it needed to be. Is that something that you found Data Fabric helped with, or how did you solve that problem using Appian?
That's a great question. It's really a success story, and I don't know if you know how much of a success story it was, but we initially went into a very complex data model during a period when Appian was just polishing its data fabric features. So again, I've been working with Appian for about 16 years, and I've watched year over years, they've really dramatically improved the product. And it was during that window that we started working with the very data model that you were suggesting. It was incredibly complex, and I agree, perhaps more than it needed to be. It was the result of a very conservative approach to data management. And so we actually built the application using Appian's old school data management tools, where you had what were called complex data types that accurately reflected individual tables, and you manually managed the relationships between them. Obviously, the application wasn't as performative as we would have liked to have been. And so over the period of the last 3 months or so, while we're tailoring their reports and optimizing the application in other days, we elected to go wholesale and convert the data model to Appian's data fabric with synced records. The process of conversion from that complex data model into the synced record model took about 2 weeks for 2 full-time developers. So it was not complex to convert to Appian's new feature set, and actually fell under the category of optimization. So we've already seen probably a 25-fold speed difference in putting data on a pane of glass for the users, which has been tremendous, because this particular application, the users are quite used to seeing a volume of data in a variety of different patterns and silos on a screen at a single time. And this was a big lift for them. They initially were showing some concerns about how long it took to load the data. Synced records completely eliminated that, and it was a relatively painless change to convert to the system.
Fantastic.
Was that the answer you were looking for?
Well, I was looking for the accurate answer, so yes.
Yeah, we're very happy with it, and so are they.
Awesome. And that goes back to the promise of the platform, right? Better, faster way to get better results for the customer and for their end users, right? We're working with the IT team, but our objective is to help the customer's business, who is their customers.
Another feature, Tim, that we really didn't talk about, but it's worth mentioning, because post-COVID, we have a significant number of remote users who are now using the system, and they're using a variety of tool sets to access enterprise infrastructure. One of the really sweet features of Appian that we really don't talk up enough, and we're starting to make use of now, is the fact that it's write once, run anywhere. So the code base that we've just built, these user interfaces that we've created for the users, they automatically are generated in such a way that they'll work on mobile. So there's no extra tools to buy. There's no extra code to write. As soon as we've built it once, it's very easy to view that on an application through a mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a phone. And this is another way to actively engage your users much more deeply with zero additional effort on your enterprise applications. At any rate, I will stop now because I could gush about the tool.
We could, and we have about a minute and a half left, and Alexis is probably going to come in and kick us out any minute now. So I'm going to attempt to steal the screen back from you for just a second.
Please do.
There we go.
I think we lost the team.
I think he clicked the wrong button.
Yeah, I think he clicked the wrong button. Probably, I will have a question for you, Richard, because I'm sure that the audience maybe have more technical questions and comments about this platform. But probably my only question could be related to the team's question regarding this point of what do you consider to be the biggest disadvantage of Appian compared to other platforms, for example?
Oh, it's really simple. It's speed. It's speed of development. So, we have all these low code and no code tools available at our disposal. And what that means is for all of the things that we do 80% of our workday, that's no longer on the table. Now we can focus on the deeper enterprise problems, whether it's bringing people and data together, or doing automation, or investigating the deep and complex problems. What we wind up doing at the end of the day, because of that speed, is building much richer applications that answer deeper into that customer's enterprise complexities than we would have if we'd spent all the time and effort writing code.
So I'd like to give you a for instance there, if I may. You mentioned the things that the platform just does for you, and we talked about data fabric and the ability to very easily design out a process model. But one of the things that you haven't thought about, Richard, I would say in a very large number of years, is multi-threading and semaphores and thread safety and all of that garbage that you have to think about when you're coding in Java or C++ or .NET or whatever. Appian just optimizes all of that for you. You never have to worry about that at all. And so you can focus on the things that you were just talking about focusing on. And that's just one example.
As a professional developer in Java for years, I remember all the difficulties of handling things like, how does this user access this particular data element, but this user won't be able to access this data element. I want to reuse this form as much as possible, but there's whole subsets of it that can't be revealed to certain people. And that was such a complex beast to manage. Appian's security model makes that very simple, and it's integrated right into the interface designer. So whether you're looking at data from the database at a user and record level, or you're looking at a field on a screen as a user at a user or record level, it's very easy to do with this low code platform. And I can really focus on what the business needs my expertise to focus on. They don't need someone to worry about security anymore. They don't need someone to work about the nuts and bolts. Focus on how you solve my business problems. That's what this tool enables me to do.
Wonderful, wonderful team. I remember that you were sharing your screen before and we lost you. I don't know if you want to retry it.
I was just going to jump to the thank you slide just to close it down, but I'm also now afraid that I'm going to disconnect myself again. So who knows what's going to
happen. Okay, I'm adding now. Yeah, the thank you. The thank you slide. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Well, I think that probably the audience will be very interested in so many points about this presentation. It was a really pleasure to have you here, and your first for many future occasions that probably we will see you presenting information related to this platform. My only reminder for the audience is please leave comments and ask questions using the chat, because Tim and Richard will be reading all these comments, and we will be very happy to hear from you. And I don't know if you want to share anything else before the closing this session, the closing of this session, Tim, Richard.
No, this has been a fantastic experience. Thank you for inviting us, and I look forward to the next one.
Perfect, wonderful, Richard.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity to share this tool to a wider audience.
Thank you both of you, and welcome to this edition, to this second edition of Global Dev Week, actually. And don't forget, people, please don't forget to, if you want to watch the next session, you need to return to the official website of Devweek, and then you will watch the full agenda and select the following session. So that's all for today, and thank you so much for having you here, guys, and see you later.
Thanks so much.